Oh God.
I wonder, does anybody know just who I am? Nobody knows just who I am.
So we're live. Finally. I said 10:30, I was late. I was gonna have to deal with it, you feel me? Welcome back to the Striving Upon Success Podcast, aka Sustv, Season 4. This is episode 30. And welcome back, man. Thank you guys for coming back here. You guys don't have to, but you already know. You already know how we give it up, man. Let's go, Susvillians. Let's get it. To God be the glory. Grand Rising. Jesus is real. Let's go. Hey. Yeah. Woo.
Okay. Hey. Look. SustVille. Subscribe, hit it, wheel it, give it, hit the bell. So the new vids don't stop, get it, know the deal. We the Ville, run up the M's, move past the mills. We are the team promoting how to heal. Grind like the ant, you already know it's on our heels. Ain't such without us, but move standing still. Give love to real ones, respect mutual. Hey, anytime, been advised. Got too much plague in my mind with the games that we lose is built. Move. Could I really make it out with a slick little line? Look at the sky and ask for a sign. Written the green like I take care of vines. Get this energy from my mind. Get the willpower from the guy. Hey. Yes, sirski, man. Yes, sirski. Welcome back to Sustv, man. Again, to God be the glory. Couldn't be here without him, and couldn't be here without Jesus who died for our sins. Now let's get right into it, man, because you're gonna need your worship. You're gonna need your prayer for this episode. Starting right off, I'm a little bit behind. I was told not to really explain too much when it comes to these sort of things. Just get right into it. So let's just do that. Mexico. We definitely need prayers for Mexico. They were hit by that hurricane, Category 5 on October 25th. You know, I know it's now November, but I didn't get a chance to report on that due to technical difficulties. So I just want to make sure I do my due diligence. Nearly 100 people dead. And that number, from what I gathered, was climbing, unfortunately. It came from the Eastern Pacific, and that death toll is rising. But the good news when it comes to that is there is 75 tons of aid going towards Mexico. If you guys know any how do we do this? If you guys know any organizations that are helping right now, if you guys know any nonprofits, if you guys know any GoFundMes, etc., if you guys could comment down below so that we can go ahead and give the necessary support to those who are suffering, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for if you do end up helping where you can. I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'll try to add that in the description if possible. If not in this episode, in a later episode, and I'll let it be known when I do that. Moving right along, when or if I do that. If I'm not, I'm going to be spreading awareness on all platforms, on my social platforms, as I find the time and things like that. So, yeah, thoughts and prayers to those who are suffering. Thoughts and prayers to those who have lost their lives, and thoughts and prayers to those who are trying to make that situation a better situation. I want to go ahead and go right off of that pain and tragedy, moving right into a loss. Rest in peace to Matthew Perry from the hit show Friends. He apparently had died. He was out in Los Angeles, and he died in a pool, actually, in a hot tub, from drowning. I did not see the toxicology report, but all of that is not important, in my opinion. what's important is that we set our thoughts and our prayers for his family, for his friends, for those who love him, for the fans that loved him, and we just keep him in our thoughts. In these next coming weeks, they're gonna be very hard for those of us who are, for those of us who know people who are suffering greatly from this loss because they had some sort of relationship with him, or maybe they were just a very passionate fan of him. So thoughts and prayers. Rest in peace to Matthew Perry, who played the character Chandler, in case some of you guys didn't know from the hit show Friends. In all this grief and loss, there is some more news. It's not necessarily good news. It's I guess it's not necessarily bad news either, and to a certain extent. Army reservist Arthur Strutt, who suffering from some form of PTSD, fatally shot and killed up to 18 people. I'm not sure about the number of people who were also injured, but he was found later in Lesbon. He had a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had taken his own life, and that was out there in Lewiston, Maine. But then he then ended his own life in Lesbon. It's just been a lot of, when people are having, there's a huge mental health crisis, and that's what I want to touch upon as far as this kind of conversation, because let's take this opportunity to make that the silver lining. I know there's been a lot of grief, and I do have some more topics to talk about that we'll then get into some of these more negative things going on in the world. It just seems to be the theme of the pod, but we're gonna go ahead and try to tackle each thing. We're gonna try and tackle a couple of these different topics and bring some hope to it. So for this story, it's tragic because of the lives lost, tragic because of all the family and friends impacted. By the way, rest in peace to those who have lost their lives. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to those who lost their lives. I guess rest in peace to the killer. I don't know how people will feel about that, but just the loss of human life in general. He was in Army. He was in the Army Reserves. I assume that he was active duty. I don't know for certain. I do know that that's a topic in this country that isn't, I don't know if it's being tackled. I know that it's not being tackled correctly, because you hear nowadays there's a mass shooting, you know what I mean? Like every month or so now, or if that every week, because I try not to keep up with that form of news. There's a rising mental health crisis, and we need action. We need actionable items. You know what I mean? We have our military who are going through it, who have different mental issues going on due to whatever it was that they were exposed to. We have people who are suffering from chronic, real problems mentally, and they're trying to get the help, and it's difficult. And you know what I mean? We have children who are showing early signs of certain things to certain extents, but that might not be something chronic. And then we go ahead and we drug them up, and they're depressed and all these different things because we're misdiagnosing a lot of people, and we're misdiagnosing a lot of the youth, and it's having very extreme effects on society. And all of these different elements need to be looked at. Maybe we can utilize this platform to kind of shed light on some of that. And later on, I would like to, maybe form groups where we can kind of talk about ways to help people in those situations. If you know anybody, or if you are someone who suffers from some form of mental illness, reach out, and we can do like a Zoom. It doesn't have to be live necessarily. We can just do a Zoom and maybe form a group and try to actually, take some actionable items that the everyday person can do to help their fellow people, because it starts here, and then it gets to that point where it affects everyone else, and it becomes this global thing, and now it's a news story, and now it's this person who killed a bunch of people and then took their lives, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So before it gets there, it starts in the schools, it starts in the homes, it starts with the people that we know, it starts with yourself. If you know that you suffer from certain things and you have certain thoughts and you have certain, like, what are actionable items that the people around you, or are there people around you, and how could we invent a safe space for you to speak to people, or how do we create a safe space for the rest of us to create a safe space for those people who need that support? You know what I mean? So let this be that moment. Let's not dwell on the negativity of that in particular, and let's try to use this to better a situation. You know what I'm saying? Moving along, we have in New York, again, thoughts and prayers to those families, to those friends, to those loved ones, to those who have been tragically affected, to those who now have mental issues because they have been involved in this. You know what I mean? There are tons of kids out there younger than me, who are dealing with gun violence on a regular basis now, mass shootings on a regular basis, and have traumas because of it, and will have traumas for the rest of their lives. So thoughts and prayers to all people who were affected by that story and by these stories that are to come, unfortunately. So out there in New York on the Brooklyn Bridge, there was a pro-Palestine protest. There have been ongoing pro-Palestine protests. This one in particular was on October 7th, Saturday. There have since been, a ton more. There have been a ton more of these protests globally, and yeah, that seems to be something that we are all just dealing with. It's the war. It's Palestine versus Israel. It's, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, what's really going on there. I can't really speak to that, but as far as the protests and it getting violent, because I'm starting to see certain news stories in that vein, we got to just do better as a people. We got to find better, like, protest is important, don't get me wrong. Of course, I know that protests are important. Being a African American, learning history and knowing the significance of protests, I have a understanding of protests and their importance. But there has to be some more assembly. There has to be different ways to tackle this issue. I'm not saying for the people who are protesting to stop. I'm not saying that I'm just saying that maybe some people can find a different approach, whoever those people may be. I would like to be one of those people to find a different approach, instead of just protesting all of the time. Some sort of assembly, some sort of plan, some sort of something that can help reach some sort of agreements, you know what I mean? Or just agree to disagree and find some form of common ground to stand on, you know what I mean? Because you get a group of 5 people and they can't even agree if you give them 3 flavors which one is the best, you know what I mean? Let alone all of these more nuanced, complicated issues that are going on in the world, especially when we're talking about world war, you know what I mean? And this is looking like the precipice, or rather already have started the World War III, the next World War. Not that there wasn't already ongoing, if you pay attention and you know about the different movements that's been going on with China and Africa, the different movements that were going on with Egypt, Ethiopia, different movements, of course, with Iran and the things they were doing, funding with Hamas. And it's been ongoing. It's very complicated. It's very deep-rooted. How could I even, be remiss to mention Ukraine and Russia? That is still ongoing. People still dying. It's the way of the world. But there has to be some form of assembly with the civilian population, and hopefully that can expand, and then it can be hopefully civilian populations of each part of the world, because everywhere, somewhere, someone got a mom that they love. Everywhere, somewhere, someone got a grandmother that they love, a grandfather, a father, a son, a daughter, and we all just got families, and we all just trying to do the best that we can around the world. Like, that is without question. You know what I mean? There's got to be some middle ground that all of us can stand on if we all agree that we're just trying to do the best that we can do, and we're all just trying to take care of our families. And everybody got to, maybe not everybody, but somebody got some form of support. A friend that's become like a family member. You know what I mean? Someone who's not friend or family and they just become a family member, some form of support, somebody, or if you don't have it, you want it, you know? So there's got to be some form of common ground at some point to that regard. But yeah, there was protests on October 7th for Palestine. A lot of people marching, thousands of people marching, and the war continues. Over 8,000 Palestinians, over 8,000 Palestinians died. Thoughts and prayers. Somewhere teetering from 1,000 to anywhere from 2,500, and there's probably way more by now. I haven't updated myself since like mid-October, or rather like mid into late October. Last I heard that Palestinians were dying upwards of 10,000, and the Israelis were dying from anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500, and the death toll was gonna obviously increase somewhere to maybe 3,000-4,000. If I had to take a guess by now, the bombings are continual. The protests in Gaza, the protests around the world, and the tears and the cries of the whole world are ongoing. I know that that's a war that is deep rooted. There's a lot of history there, and I just pray that people do their due diligence. And yeah, that's all I have on that. I don't know if I'm going to keep on reporting about the war, but I don't have to, because the rest of the world news is going to unfortunately or fortunately tie right back to the war at some point, as far as like these protests that are globally happening. I'm in a big city like New York. It's going to tie into the rest of the world. You know what I mean? When Iran makes a move, New York affected by Iran, affected by Afghanistan, that relationship there, you know, when they start making moves and Russia starts making moves, like all the world war news are gonna continue being part of the news cycle. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to report on it at some point. Not that I have to, but I'm gonna feel obligated to, because I want my viewership, for those who, you know, grace me with their presence and view my videos. I want everyone to be informed. I want all of us to be educated. I want all of us to be making the best decisions for us, for ourselves, and I want us all to just do our best. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that is what I have on that. Grand Rising, everybody. I did have something that I wanted to read, just because of the nature of this podcast. Usually I'm able to mention a little something funny here, something funny there, but with all this seriousness, I'm gonna read wait, hold on 1 second, everyone, and when we come back, I'm gonna read a little something, okay? Some of it might have been cut out due to the clip. I asked that, you know, you pause the video and take 20-30 seconds and just let's just pause everything for those lives lost and all of those tragic articles that I unfortunately had to read. And I did want to read something for you guys. This is Proverbs 4:14-17. It states, "Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not proceed in the way of evil men. Avoid it, do not pass by it, turn away from it, and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they do evil, and they are robbed of sleep unless they make someone stumble." And I read that because I just wanted to put something out there that is positive and proactive in a following that everyone can take when approached with violence. Violence is of humans, you know what I mean? It's of human beings. It's been there since the very beginning, you know, medieval times, Sparta, you know, you look at history, there's been all kind of violence, beheadings and hunting and gathering and all kinds of different stuff going on. And, you know, we're now a more evolved people. We're able to articulate a little bit better. We're still a violent people. We're still very much, you know, blood and gore and cruel to each other. You know, I can only ask that you guys look at the Bible, in my opinion, and these proverbs and different scripture that speaks on peace and speaks on violence, because it makes the most sense to me. You know what I mean? I just read that there. And it's basically just speaking towards, just, you know what I mean? Turn the other cheek, as they say, you know, when someone does you wrong, because like, what, you're going to go and end someone's life? I mean, you know, road rage nowadays. People go and someone cuts you off and they have a weapon on them or whatever the case may be, and they will shoot through the glass knowing that that's going to mess up what they got going on. They might stare, they might kill someone, they might kill themselves, and just to shoot at someone else to kill them, and then they might spin off and kill more people or just themselves, and you know, so on and so forth, and then the day just keeps going on. People go to jail and they throw their whole lives away for what? You know what I mean? Like, when you're in these situations, you know, you could be at the club, someone has it on them, you know, you get into an argument, a drink gets spilt, etc., etc. Like, instead of just walking away, living to see another day, you know, your pride, your ego, you want to, you know what I mean? And it's with the women too. You see a lot of women on women violence, you know, on the increase. It's portrayed in the music. It's you know what I mean? You just take a breath, take a second, read, you know, I recommend you guys read your Bibles, read what brings you peace, do some meditation, do some yoga, find things that can bring you back down to a peaceful point, and walk away from these different situations. It's not worth it. It's not worth your life. It's not worth other people's lives. You know, this is human life, and we don't really regard it highly, you know, until someone that you care about is gone. You know, you think how angry you are in the moment is more important, but like, if you have lost somebody, think about them, you know, in those moments. Think about how upset you are that they're gone and they're never coming back. Not to be so morbid and so negative, but it's like, you love that person. That life is worth whatever. You'd give up a job, money, whatever, for them to come back in your life. You know, view it from that kind of angle of like, you would give anything to see that person again. Why would you do something to put your own life at risk? Or something happen and maybe someone else in the crossfire dies, and that person that dies is the same level of important that the person that you lost. It's that person has people who love them the way that you love that person that you lost. You know what I mean? And now they hurting because of your actions. And would you give that pain that you have from losing that person? Would you give that pain to anybody? Do you want anyone to feel the level of pain that you feel from that person gone? Doubt it. That's a pain like no other, you know? Or if you know somebody that's going through that pain and how they've changed completely, you know? So it's just something to think about. Try to value human life. That is the positive message that I have out there. We're all human beings, and it's hard. And you think that, some people are just some, you know what I mean? And you might be right, but show more people grace and mercy, because, you know what I mean? Like, is it worth it? You know, you might be getting robbed. Someone want to take your stuff or whatever. Nah, I ain't giving it up. They got something on them. Is it worth it? You know, you mean something to somebody, or I would hope you mean something to somebody, or, you know, you got people that you care about and you want to see, you know, the following day, the following day, the following day, the following years, whatever the case may be. Just give it up. Just give it up. It's just stuff. Like, you're not going to take none of this with you when you're gone. No one is. Not the money, the house, the cars, the chains, nothing, you know? So just something to think about. And cherish those that you have with you, because that's really what's important. I reported on the hurricane. I reported on, Matthew Perry. Okay, and we are back. We are back. Sorry for that interruption. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Just give grace and mercy to people, whether it's an argument, whether it's life or death. If you're getting robbed, give it up. If you're in a life or death situation, if you could create a life or death situation, just take a second to think about it. You know what I mean? I know that there are different situations in life, but if it's something dumb, just I would hope that you would just walk away, rather than turning up and turning it into something worse. And yeah, as far as arguments and things like that, try to make peace. If you got beef with people, resolve it, let it go. Not even for their sake, but for your sake, because you're the one who really suffers in the end when you hold grudges and things like that. And let's just move on, do better, be better, and move on with life's proceedings, you know what I mean, until it's finally our time. And then from there, it's what you believe. Hopefully you believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and you been living your life in a better way, and, you entered into the kingdom of heaven. With all that being said, thank you guys for viewing this podcast. I am your host, Susmoves. This is the Striving Upon Success Podcast, Striving Upon Success Podcast, aka Sustv. I am your host, Susmoves. Once again, this is episode 30, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. I'm gonna do something a little different. Not really. I'll do the same thing I always do, and play this intro, man. Intro, outro. Let's get out of here, man.
Does it feel good? Yeah.
Move. Making moves like a movie script. Destiny written is what we do. S.Ville to the moon. Making moves like a movie script. Destiny written is what we do. Sustv. Sustv. Whoops. Okay. Hey. Look. Sustv. Subscribe, hit it, we like giving, hit the bell. So the new vids don't stop, get it, know the deal. We the Ville, run up the M's, shoot past the mills. Grand Rising in Love. This is the Striving Upon Success Podcast, aka Sustv. I'm your host, Susmoves. Thank you for tuning in. There's going to be more content every week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that post notification. Till next time, Jesus is real, God is good. Peace. Could I really make it out with a slick little line? Look at the sky. Moves for a shine, real in the green like I take care of vines. Get this energy from my mind, get the willpower from the God. Hey. That has been another episode, guys. Peace.